Welcome everybody. We are going to be playing some Earth Aggro, that Swagro Aggro. And I did have a video fully recorded, all the stuff pieced together and uploaded to YouTube. And I was editing my list and incorporating a few new things. And I noticed I didn't have Graceful Charity in there. So yeah, I deleted that. So we're back to square one. I actually recorded that video a few days ago. When I was just starting out with this list. And a few things have changed. I mean, if you've seen Earth Aggro, this might actually look a little bit different. I did take a page out of the book of a few of the players in the Milan tournament. I don't know if it was like Goat Grand Prix or I really don't know what it was, but after a little back and forth in the Discord, I wanted to try out the trap dust shoots. These normally would be something like Sakuretsu armors. There's a little bit of debate about cutting an assailant and adding in something like a Ninja Grandmaster, uh, which I think from just a utility perspective probably does make sense. You are running a Rota, so having 3 of these versus 2 and having the ability but not the obligation to go into Ninja Grandmaster probably makes sense, even though you are sacrificing a Earth for Gigantes. The Rat package has been incredibly good from my playtesting. Like, I just can't believe how often it is good. I mean, I don't know. Just at first glance, you wouldn't think it's that good. The other thing I was asking some of the people that are more experienced with the deck is, why you'd cut Assailant and not maybe cut a Goblin Attack Force and have just 3 DD Assailant. And I'm honestly not sold on that. Like, some of their answers, which are, that this basically gets over everything, which is true. You do a little bit more damage with this, but, this can realistically trade into anything. I mean, unless it's in defense position. And the really nice thing about DD Assailant on an open board is you can just swing and you have a 17 body that's going to trade in with anything that is going to attack it, and they're or they're going to use removal on it. Like with Goblin Attack Force, you swing in and get 23 to face, but then they can run it over like with anything. Like they could summon like Sinister Serpent if they wanted to and swing over to Sangian. So and like you can't follow up next turn, so I understand why this card is good and like why you want something to be able to beat over everything if at all possible, but what I'm unsure of, and this is more just due to a lack of experience with the deck, is whether or not this should be going face at all. Like other than in like very dire situations where you just need to end the game quickly. Like I feel like you need to plus off of this card. And this, on a side note, is not a deck that cares about card advantage at all. Like you should be, if you have card advantage with this deck, you're probably playing it wrong. Like I know there are certain cheeky situations where you're just beating over everything and like removing back row, but your job with this deck is to end the game as quickly as possible, and I understand why that's important with Goblin Attack Force, but there comes a limit where you can't just like neg one on every single one of your cards. But this deck should not be playing for card advantage, and I really think you should be winning the game. And the sweet spot for a deck like this is probably under 5 turns. So those are some of my thoughts on that, and I think it goes to show like yeah, this card isn't going to necessarily put in a lot of work or you know a lot of damage, but it's important to still have some consideration with card advantage, or better said, like the foregone Magician of Faith or the foregone Gravekeeper Spy that your opponent plays. I don't know if um, I'm making sense with that, and I just feel like this might just be too far deep in the hole of like Oonga Boonga face, like, and just aping and not. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have to get better with the deck. The other thing I was experimenting with is Gravekeeper Spy, and it actually worked really well. Like, really, really well. For a lot of the same reasons that Warriors are playing it, which is if it gets Nobleman, it's going to remove one of your biggest problem cards. If you resolve it, you can switch everything to attack and go in for 24. Or, I mean, in a very worst case scenario, they can sit in defense. That's probably not ideal in a deck like this. Like if you kind of have to turtle up and stall for a while, like every turn that goes by, you're getting less and less likely to win with a deck like this. So that's some comments on the monster lineup. The spell lineup is very standard. Uh, 2 Smashing Grounds instead of some that play 3. I'm experimenting with a Book of Moon, which is probably the biggest flex spot in the spell lineup at this point. I'm really not too sure about that. The nice thing is if somebody does activate like a Battle Trap on you or a Snatch or um, like whatever it might be, like any other type of removal, you can just book it. So it can be used offensively and defensively. It can shut off really annoying effects. So it's an overall good card. I just don't know. Like I've seen a lot of people like on like 2 of these in the side and stuff. I'm really not sure what that's all about. Um, so Ring of Destruction, mandatory. I did have Torrential in the main for a while. That was probably not a good idea at all. I don't think this deck can really support Torrential unless you're really, really worried about getting overwhelmed on the board. This, like Torrential, if you're fighting from behind, like, and you're already behind, you're just gonna lose most of the time with this deck. So Torrential is more of a lose less card. It's like you're gonna lose anyway, so like just lose harder and don't worry about situations where you just opened poorly and you're gonna lose. Like I just don't foresee a lot of situations where this is good. I mean, certain obvious exceptions, maybe if somebody is on like goats or something and you might need to blow up boards here and there, like Reason Negate Turbo. Those are kind of why it's in the side, but under most circumstances, Torrential seems like an absolutely terrible card for a deck with a strategy like this. I mean, it is aggro after all. So, um, Mirror Force in the side. This is again kind of a copycat list off of some lists out of the most recent tournament. I'm really just experimenting with this. I don't know if this is good or not. Uh, this list looks very different than what I was playing really just a few days ago. So we're just gonna kind of see how it goes, and I'm sure there will be iterations on what this looks like in the future. Now to comment on the trap lineup, yeah, again, mandatory. Same with premature. They just allow you to extend and not be as limited to 1 normal summon per turn, which is kind of cruddy with this deck. 3 dusts, you're just gonna have to clear out back row and start swinging face, or be able to swing over problem cards. And then really the biggest change is the 3 dust shoot as opposed to the 3 Sakuretsu armors. And I think this kind of goes into the same thing with Mirror Force, is if you're being attacked and you really need to block those attacks, you're probably not in that great of a situation anyway. So I don't know if it does you a lot of good to lose by less. The exception might be Mirror Force just because the upside is so high. You can +1 off it, plus 2 or 3, whatever it might be, depending on the game state. Again, the deck doesn't play for pluses, but your opponent having to respect Mirror Force or protecting a Goblin attack force or something like that seems pretty good. The other aside is, Gigantes, your opponent sometimes can force this attack to go, or this effect to go off to blow up all the spells and traps on the board. Cards like Saku and Mirror Force have anti-synergy with that, so Um, the other thing with Trap Dust Shoot is this is a card that's really, really good in the early game, and this game needs to capitalize and win in the early game. So resolving a turn 1 Dust Shoot lets you know exactly what you need to play around in terms of back row for a few turns. You can send back problem monsters like Gravekeeper Spy or whatever it might be. And I think this is kind of smart just from like my first thoughts on it. I haven't tested it extensively, but if you're going to be a deck like this that tries to win in the early game, you might as well just go all in on that strategy, which is very different than a strategy that's going to try to do a lot of things somewhat well, like the old saying, um, what is it, like master of none? It's like not jack of all trades, master of none. It's something along those lines. I can't think of it, but I think the better scenario for a deck like this is to try to get really, really good at optimizing for those first 5 turns. And Trap Dust Shoot is like the poster child for that. Like, this card sucks balls in most matchups and in the late game. So if you're going to try to win early game, you might as well just gun for it. The side deck, this comes in versus Warrior, of course, has great synergy with the Rat package. This this is another point of contention. I'm kind of net decking a lot of this deck, and I've seen this as a second copy in the side, and I can only assume that this is coming in versus something like not Reason Gate Turbo, Chaos Turbo. I'm just not sure you need two. Um, I could be wrong, but I'm going to try to side it in whenever I play against that deck. This comes in versus Reasoning Gate Turbo and Chaos Turbo. This could also, I guess, come in for something like Burn, because what's likely to happen is you're going to be stuck under a level limit or a gravity bind, and they're going to like set jars, and you can't really let those resolve. So there probably is some merit to this. This is, in my opinion, a 3 of staple for a deck like this. Your worst enemy with a deck like this is Scapegoats. If they resolve a Scapegoats, I don't know what your chance of winning is, but unless you have like a tribe, you're probably just going to lose on the spot. Especially because anything that's playing Scapegoats is probably topping that off with Metamorphosis, and yeah, like once the game progresses there, they're just going to be able to stop you and build up enough resources to slow you down enough where, like after like 2 to 3 turns, once you clear the Scapegoats, they're going to have enough resources to like mirror force you or just wall you with something else or set up a torrential, because another thing with this deck is you can't really afford to play smartly. Like, you kind of just have to go all in. This was actually in one of the games where I recorded it, and I'm not going to record that or upload that original gameplay, but you kind of just, there are going to be so many situations where you're like, oh, I can't play around Mirror Force. Like, if I play around Mirror Force or Torrential every turn, you're never going to win with this deck. It is an aggro deck. The other thing I experimented with was some burn, like Magic Cylinder and Ceasefire. Uh, I only played a handful of games with those. I'm not sure if they're good or not. Um, I think that's somewhat dependent on, of course, what you're playing, but also how prevalent Solemn Judgment becomes. I think that card is going to become a lot more prevalent, and it just seems really good that with Ceasefire, at least, you get double utility on being able to know what you're up against for flip monsters and have them not resolve their flip effects, but also get in for like that last 1500, 2000, or even just 1000 to close out games, because there are definitely a lot of games with this deck where you just have to make pushes for face. They have enough resources to, get kind of stabilize, if you want to call it that, and get to like 1500 life, and you just might want something to finish them off. Swords of Revealing Light, this is for other aggressive decks. Being able to just swing over and over again and them not attack you is really good. My body as a shield, this is something I've been experimenting with, especially in something that's probably going to side in Saku's game 2, which is everything. I mean, Sakuretsu's in pretty much every side deck. It also depends on like whether or not your opponent's on Phoenix Wing Wind or Regeki Break, but I think this is interesting to try. It just really is hard if you lose tempo in the game and you attack and it just like runs right into a Saku, or you have to walk right into a Torrential. So I think especially in game 2 this can be helpful. This can be great for burn, of course very good with Goblin Attack Force. This is Chaos Turbo. Anything that attacks you a lot like Warriors, this is largely for stuff like RGT, and 2 Sakus for stuff like Warrior. So that's it. I'm going to pause this and we'll jump into a match. Alright, so we're just going to gun it, see what we get. Ladder, at least where I'm playing right now, or the level I'm playing at right now, is quite a bit of Chaos Turbo. Really, it seems like anyone above like 600 or 700 is on that. So, alright, so at a 237, so we might have to navigate our way through a rogue matchup. It's a lot more common with ranks like this. Okay, so I don't really think there's any real reason to let him know what we're playing. Giant Rat is a little bit more ambiguous. It could be Panda Burn, so might be worth just dropping that right now. The other thing to say is that does turn off our rat toolbox if we do need to crash into something. The other side of the coin is if we flip or play DD Assailant, because we have Heavy Storm in hand, that might actually lead him to play more back row. I think that's worth it. Like, I actually think we want him to know that we're on Earth aggro with a hand like this. I mean, if he swings over, oh god, if this resolves, that would be insane. There's also something to be said, I guess, with Gigantes. Like, this could get banished, so that could be dead for longer, but okay. Alright, yep, that's fine. It's gonna resolve this, or... Right, so we take 1400. Alright. So that does stink. As much as it feels good to get a heavy storm off like that. Okay, I'm confused. So what could possibly be playing this combination of cards? Like, this is a total wild card. Like, I don't know if there's any synergies between anything at all. This is more goat control-y, and this is burn. Makes me wish we had piercing damage. And if he plays like a meta or something like that, I think that I don't think we should play around that, because he could very easily negate that heavy that we played. I mean, I don't know if it's worth actually negating that heavy because he could chain to him. So never mind. Like, he could still play meta here, and it would probably make sense. So this is a situation where I don't think we can afford to play into a mirror or a torrential. Like, I don't think we can. Like, the situation where you can typically afford to play around that is if you have like just two cards, or you can afford not to play around it, like can just go -1. But if we commit something else to board, we're probably gonna lose. So if it goes off like a mirror or a torrential or something. Okay. That's so obnoxious. It's just obnoxious that he drew two of them. That's like the worst card against our deck. So next turn we're not as worried about torrential. Because even if he torrentials, he loses these. Not that that's good, but I still think we have to play around Mirror Force. I think that was off the top too. I don't think he shuffled. Yeah. So I think it's more likely if he didn't shuffle and he just plays something off the top of his deck that it's a Mirror Force. The other thing I'm hoping we get is some spell and trap removal. I just have a sneaking suspicion that there's going to be some floodgate shenanigans here. Wait, did he shuffle that time? I think he did. Wait, what? Well, this is monsters cannot be set or flipped. so confused. Okay, that's fine. I just like with cards like this that I'm like what really scares me about cards like this is that like in older formats like this, there are like long lost, like broken ass, like weird, like niche combos that I'm not familiar with. All right, we're just gonna go in. Like I think at this point we have enough follow up, and that makes our nobleman dead, which is funny. Attack directly. It went through. Okay, so I'm trying to think, like while we're at it, like what our side decking strategy is. I mean, of course the Wang Hus are coming in. We haven't seen any monsters. We've seen some. What in the fuck? So this is making me like really, really afraid that like some seriously like, bonkers ass shit that no one can play around is about to come our way. We don't have anything defensive, and we need some spell and trap removal too. Oh my god. Like this is just ridiculous. Alright, so we do have a book, which we're of course gonna set. I don't know if there's any real reason to keep these in attack. I mean, this has a higher defense, so yeah, this has a higher defense. I'm gonna keep this in attack just because 17 to 16 is a break point for something like Breaker the Magical Warrior. Okay. So I don't really think it's worth playing around Heavy Storm. So I mean, this is probably dead anyway as long as this remains on the field. So oh wait, this actually turns off book too. That's really obnoxious. Okay. There's really nothing we can do at this point. He's stalling us out, and like as much as I was saying in the intro, card advantage isn't that big of a deal. I actually think the only way we win this is like with card advantage because he just went like all of the cards he's played are -1s so far. That's fine. Actually, you know what? No, that's fine. We can't do anything anyway. So you just prio. I was thinking maybe we should have asked prio, right? Because if not, we could ring something and then oh wait, he doesn't have board space. He doesn't have board space. Yeah, you can't. Uh, so he adds back 5,000. I don't even think you can pay the cost. So it is some degenerate shit. See, well, it throws me off with this. Like I didn't even recognize that at first. That's crazy, man. All right. With this many back row, I think it's worth keeping something that floats in defense position. We're gonna play pot first. Yeah, of course he sets everything and now Dust Shoot isn't live. This is a funny game. Alright, so I think what we want to do is 17 into 700 is only 1,000, which still gives him the ability to Stein. Conversely, if we do it with Goblin Attack Force, that puts him out of Stein range, so I don't think there's any other real reason for us to like snatch the Stein either. Like I don't really know what we would be bringing out that's even good. I don't think anything in our extra deck pierces, does it? This could attack directly, but that's not worth 5,000. Okay, we're just gonna start committing a decent amount of stuff like this, and unless he has 2 removals, then let's see what happens, because if he stops these attacks, I'm not killing a goat. So he takes 16 here. Target 1 and banish it. Does that trigger a replay? Um, hmm. You know, as far as I'm concerned, so I don't think that attacks, like, because it triggers a replay. So I think this stays in attack position. If somebody's watching, please let me know. I'm really not sure. What is nice is if he activates something to kill one of his goats, we're just gonna ring this, or ring, what would we ring? Probably ring assailant, because this has toolbox, this is big. Yeah, this is just like probably the least valuable thing on our board. So, like, this is -1's the deck, but it very well could be big trouble for us. He really wants to keep the Stein. Alright, so I think in this situation we are going to double dust shoot. I don't know. That might be stupid because this is looks very spell and trap heavy, so I don't think it's worth double dust shooting. Because we can, if you're unfamiliar with the ruling, like if they have 4, you can dust shoot and then chain to dust shoot, because both of the activation requirements are met, and try to send 2, but I think it's worth the -1. Like, when are we, like, even if there's nothing there, it might be a -2. All right, we're just gonna get that off board, and we're just gonna attack with these guys. We have a ton of cards too, and he's playing stuff like Secret Barrel, and he's probably gonna hit us with like some Just Desserts cheese. So I think it is worth getting rid of some of these cards. I think the longer we wait, the more likely we are to lose. And then, okay, that's fine. All right. Paying half. Okay. And I am writing this down. I normally would put it in the chat, but I think it's better to write it down so that they don't know that you know. I mean, good players will of course. Okay. So meta my body as a shield and wave motion cannon. And this shit. And we're not drawing any spell and trap removal. That is fucking annoying. We have MST, Breaker, and 3 Dust Shoots, and we're 18 cards in. I think we're gonna try to just have to get under Gravity Bind, but I just don't like board locking myself like this. Because 23 plus 9, if we can ever get in with this guy, we have no exiled here. Like, this just sucks. Because we can't snatch even, because we have a very full board. We just have to start going for it. There's really no other play. I don't think I'm gonna Smashing Ground just yet. I think if he metas something and takes it, then we do have Ring. There we go. Should be it, right? Okay. So these, of course, come in. This, I think, has to come in just based on the fact that we're going to have to attack under level limits. This is anti-burn. It didn't seem... Like, he didn't attack us with anything. We saw Fusilier for monsters, and we saw a Stein. So I think just because there's a Stein and Scapegoats this comes in, I don't think Mirror Force is coming in. He's probably going to try to... He could try to board lock us with something like Last Warrior from Another Planet, though. I think I'm keeping these in just... I mean, we are going second, but I think we left enough scars with that Heavy Storm where he's not going to set his whole hand. And with a combo-ish deck, I think we just have to. I don't think this is good. I didn't see anything that's... Although this is a level 3, so yes, it is good. Never mind. It's very good. So, yeah, we're going to basically gut our whole monster lineup here. I think we're cutting a Gigantes. These are good enough. I think this stays in for the utility. Just like kind of go evenly here. So how many monsters? 5, 1, 2. We're cutting like one of each of these. I think Rat being a floater is actually really good. So I think I actually keep that. I think another Gigantes comes out, and I think a DD Assailant. And I think Ninja Grandmaster comes out actually. For spells, I didn't see any indication he's setting anything. And these all are staying in, so... Did we miscount? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am taking a while, but he's playing some crazy ass shit, so... Yeah. Especially because these get moved to defense position with level limit. I'm just taking them out. 2 of them at least. I just wonder if, like with Stein, I wonder what the end game is with that. Like, I think what he's trying to do is... I actually know what he's trying to do. He's trying to Stein out a Last Warrior from Another Planet. What in the fuck? Dash shoot. Oh god. He's trying to Stein out Last Warrior from Another Planet, and then he is trying to play this Light of Intervention and then set up wave motion cannon so we can't play any monsters essentially. So what I really we need to keep this smashing ground in my opinion. I think that's a non-negotiable. So what I think we do is do we try to attack into that? I think it might just be worth exiling it because we do have premature. There's something to be said maybe about setting some of this hand before we do this just in case there's a dust shoot that comes out. Wait, is that a warrior? It is, but I'd much rather have the attack go through or the removal go through in this case. Kinetic, we couldn't search, but I just didn't know what archetype this was. Okay. That's fine. And then he's planning on using these to remove the last warrior, I guess. So we're going to take 23 here. I'm kind of hoping this baits out some removal. It did not. So not siding in like the battle trap type stuff seems like it might have been a mistake at this point. I don't think there was any real way that we could have known that yet though. Let's see what happens if we summon Breaker. You know, there's something also to be said maybe about saving Breaker if he plays like wave motion. Because that's probably how we lose. Yeah, we might have we should have saved that probably. Okay, it seems like this is going through. It is. Very cool, very legal. The goats. The fucking goats, dude. Okay. Solemns. Is there anything we need to consider when it comes to siding and solemns? So we can clear these pretty quickly. I don't think it's worth using a Call of the Haunted or like any of this yet. So we're just gonna swing. If it's mirror, it's mirror. I don't see any indication why it would be mirror based on the game so far. That's nice. Always happy to see that. Ugly fuck. So that's good. That's good. If more goats come our way. Attack directly. You know, I wasn't paying attention. I should have. It didn't end up mattering, but I should have attacked and then attacked with this for the extra 100. But I'm just not paying attention. This also maybe is us having to eat our own shit with Breaker because we used it on a blind back row, which was probably stupid in retrospect because we saw a ton of floodgates. Yeah. Yup. Stein. So he's got. He does have the heavy and bind and MST. So, okay. Frankly, he's probably fine with all of that. There's absolutely no merit to us. Yeah, that's also, I think, the worst of the two targets. Okay. You know, what's kind of ironic is I was siding Cliff, the trap remover, just prior to uploading this video. I don't think there's any reason for this to sit and attack. Alright. Ooh. Okay. So he does have another gravity bind. So there's no use in doing this right now. What is worth doing though is setting up enough of a board, I think. I don't think there's no way we summon tribe, but like depending on what we draw, like this is 31 plus 9, which is 4. So if we can get him down to 4 and then just like surprise heavy him, that's how we're going to win. Because I think his biggest threats at this point are wave motion cannon. We want to get him out of Stein range, which will take 2 turns. Oh shit. What's coming out here? Oh, that's fine. Like, he can't do anything. He's gonna heavy, and then... Okay. Oh shit. I thought I misclicked. Yeah, I'm not sure that's... Like, props to this dude. This probably isn't the most exciting game to have watched. I mean, maybe you're kind of guessing on what he was trying to do for a while. I don't know if maybe you figured it out prior to me, but it's props to him for trying something new. I think maybe it goes against a lot of what I said. It seemed like we were kind of playing for card advantage and playing for like we did make a few misplays for sure. Like the breaker one, of course, I think was a misplay. Um, so yeah, that's what it is. As much as I said disregard plus ones, I think that's kind of like what led this guy to lose, which is that he just had no ways to plus. Just scapegoat, interdimensional transporter, swords of revealing light, secret barrel. It's like -1 the deck, but I still hope this was at least somewhat entertaining. I'm probably going to be playing this deck a little bit more just to see what it do, how it be, if you know what I mean. And as always, helps out if you like and subscribe, and really more importantly, leave any comments on anything you see that could use improvement with the deck or the gameplay or a play or a line of thinking I missed, or maybe even a disagreement about my logic on making certain plays or side decking or whatever it might be. The one thing I do think we did decently was side decking. I think the maybe one gripe would be whether or not Battle Trap should have come in. I just figured that if he's playing Stein, there's probably stuff like Heavy Storms and Giant Trunades coming at us. So I didn't really think like Heavy Storm would be all that good. Plus he had goats and meta, and it's... Alright, Sakuretsu would be all that good, and he had goats and meta. So I don't really know. But thanks for watching, and have a good one.